My name is Risa Carlson, and I am the pre-concert lecturer for the Baltimore Classical Guitar Society. As you may know, during this concert season, we are presenting local performers as a show of solidarity during this pandemic, which is affecting all artists greatly. And to maximize this impact, each of this season's performances also includes a work that is written by a Maryland composer. In tonight's performance, we will hear Jordan Chase's quartet titled Between Earth and Sky, performed by Maestro Barrueco students Gwyneth Agler, Jennifer Kim, Nadia Yankovic, and Jesse Washburn. Manuel, I'd love to start with you. As artistic director of the Baltimore Classical Guitar Society, I understand that this whole commissioning program started a while ago, way back in 2006, and this was your brainchild. Could you talk a little bit about why commissioning music is so important to you?
Well, I think it's important. I think it's necessary. So the idea of commissioning, young talent, I thought it would serve several purposes. It would be not only to expand the repertoire of the guitar and for the young guitarists, to be able to partake in this and learn how to play new music, but it would lend a hand, it would support the work of young composers, and it's worked out great. I think we've gotten some nice pieces, a couple from Jordan, and I think the students and myself, we have learned a lot from working with these new pieces.
Yes, it's such an important, and I think it keeps alive our art in a very important way. Jordan, I would love to talk to you about this piece. So I heard the piece that you wrote previously for solo guitar. I have not heard this piece yet, so I'm really looking forward to it. First of all, you trained both as a guitarist and a composer, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I've studied classical guitar for about, I would say, 12 years or so at this point, and I actually started composition after classical guitar. So it's been really great to study both, and that was part of the reason actually Peabody was so attractive to me as a composer who also plays guitar, was to work with the wonderful guitar students at the school. So I'm very grateful to have this opportunity once again to work with Manuel and his amazing students. So it's been really great.
So, can you tell us a little bit about this piece? It has a very interesting title, and I'd love to know kind of the backstory and what that's about.
Sure. So the title Between Earth and Sky. So the horizon is the line that separates the Earth from the sky, and an Earth-sky horizon is actually a type of horizon that I was particularly fascinated by. So this specific horizon can be broken down into three subtypes of horizons. So you have the local horizon, the geographic horizon, and the sea level horizon. So the local horizon is the visible boundary between the Earth and sky. And this may include trees, buildings, mountains. So where you see the sky and where you see the tops of buildings, that's sort of this local horizon. The geographic horizon is the apparent boundary between the earth and sky. So mountains, trees, and these other elevated features are not considered part of this horizon. And that's usually why it's difficult to see, because you're trying to see it and it's sort of obscured by these other objects. And the third part is the sea level horizon. So the sea level horizon is the geographic horizon at sea level. And one of the best places to see the sea level horizon is at the beach. So the ocean and the sky provide a clean, flat line where the earth seems to meet the sky. So just that sort of concept in general really just fascinated me, and the science behind it, and just this idea of this line that is kind of blurred, and it's really hard to actually see unless you're at sort of the beach where you can see a very clear line. And so these components really played a factor into some of the material that I created throughout the piece.
So, can you talk a little bit about the structure of the piece? Is it one movement? Is it several movements?
Yeah, it's just one movement, and it sort of takes you through these different sound worlds. There's pretty much four main sound worlds, and it's not programmatic in terms of having each sound world connecting to a sub horizon. It's not really like that, but just the narrative of this horizon that's sort of obscured and things coming into clarity. So just one movement, and it has these different these different sections where certain guitars come into clarity for moments, but then seemingly sort of fade back into the background. So I think that's something I was trying to do throughout the piece, was to create timbres and textures and have, some guitars come forward, but then immediately drift back into the background. So you never really get that foreground, except for one moment, which is, as I just mentioned, that sea level horizon, which is what I was thinking.
It sounds like it will be an amazing piece. I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
Manuel, did you worked with the students on performance and in getting this piece ready?
Yes, we did. I mean, that's been the project we began midway through the first semester until now, and obviously all online, which creates some difficulties. So what we did was that we divided the piece into sections, and I would ask them to learn it. Then we would listen to it together, make comments, go back, do it again, like that, and then then we'll go by sections like that, and then when we had the first version of it, I mean, which unfinished, obviously, we send it to Jordan for comments, and and then we did the process again. We began again from the beginning. Now this time, thinking if it's going to be final, and then we listen. We ask him for comments again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it sounds really, really great. And I think some of the challenges Manuel discussed, I think we really found ways to make it work. And it's I was actually incredibly impressed with the final product. And this type of piece, I was thinking, would be really difficult to put together remotely. So I think everything came together. And yeah. So huge thank you to Manuel and Askerder and the Baltimore Classical Guitar Society for making this happen and for including me on Manuel's concert. It's a huge honor, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you to both of you, and we're looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you.
So, Manuel, thank you for joining me today. I would love to talk to you about your program. And I understand you're starting with a piece by Fernando Sor.
That is correct, Prisa. Thank you for doing this. So it is a little known study by Sor that to me sounds like the battle scene. So the concert actually begins in a battle scene. And the way that the piece is in octaves, study, and then stops and it breaks into God Save the King or God Save the Queen, and it could perhaps have been a reference to America, and my country, this of this. It could be. It's not specified, but that's it. I wanted it to be kind of like an overture, something that would attract a lot of attention, that would be different, and it's the sort.
And he was living in London at the time, correct?
He was living in London when it was published. That's why it makes me think that it's probably more about England and maybe ingratiating himself with the British public.
So, and then after this, we move to Frescobaldi.
We do. So it's a theme of variations on La Frescobaldi by Frescobaldi. And as I understand it, it's one of the first, if not the first, theme of variations on an original theme. It's a beautiful, beautiful, late Renaissance, early Baroque piece. I use a transcription by Segovia. I made a couple of little things. And also, for some reason, he didn't transcribe one of the variations, the last one. So I did that. So now it's a complete set. And then if you want, I'll tell you some more of it. Like from there, we go to Scarlatti. Now, Scarlatti, as he lived in Spain, during the later part of his life, and you can hear in his music often the Spanish elements, having lived there, of folk music and especially in the guitar, some, obviously imitations of rasgados. So what I do differently now than what I did before is when I hear an implication of rasgados, I'll actually go ahead and do it. So this is kind of new for me to do that. In the past, I would just do literally the way he had written. And now I think this adds a bit of interest to it.
Excellent. And are you playing 4 different sonatas?
We're playing 4, yes. 4 of them.
Okay, excellent. And then after this, we move into a very interesting transcription.
Yes. It's for Elise by Beethoven. Now, the reason why I'm playing that is because, well, first of all, we're both born on the same day, so we're tight. And last year was the 250th anniversary of his birth. So I wanted to do something, to honor him, and also I thought it would be a vehicle to also show people that guitar could do with something like for Elise. It's such a well-known piece, and it's basically what it does. The guitar brings the vibrato to it that is not in the piano, and some of the colors, So it's so I'm wondering to see what people would think of it.
I bet I feel like it's always difficult to do those kinds of transcriptions of very well-known classical pieces,
right.
But I'm sure that this is fantastic. And then after this, we move back to music that was written for the guitar, correct? With Ponce?
Yeah, from that moment on, will be like the second half of the program.
Right.
And it's music from Spain and some of the colonies, So the first one is the Sonatina Meridional by Ponce, which is a piece that I have always loved. I remember falling in love with it when I was a kid because Leo Brouwer used to come play concerts, and he played it often, over there, and that's how I got to know it. And it's written by Manuel Ponce, who was one of the main composers that Segovia collaborated with to create the repertoire that's now known as the Segovia repertoire. And though he's Mexican, there's a definite, very strong Spanish flavor to this piece. And I think it's just a charming piece. Then I do, I'm sorry, Risa.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Then we move on to Cervantes, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to, yeah, Cervantes. So Cervantes is a Cuban composer from the 19th century, and it's kind of the first of the classical of the new what became the Cuban style of music. You know, music that is very rhythmic and melodic as well. He was a pianist. He studied in Paris, and these are 5 dances of his, and they are all actually based in popular themes. I mean, in popular culture, you know. And but he really works the pieces with elegance and charm, you know. And I think that they're beautiful. But what I mean about the popular, for example, apparently it was not unusual for him sometimes to perform it with stories being recited with it, particular to the piece. And the first one is called The Wake. I mean, the titles are playfully: The Wake, The Jealous Woman, The Message, Goodbye, a Farewell to Cuba, because he went to exile, you know, and raised money for the Spanish-American War, which in Cuba is called the Cuban Independence War. And the last one, the 3 Knocks. But for example, with the first one, with The Wake, to give you an idea, I actually have seen the text of that story. It's only 3 lines. And it's basically, I think the name of the guy is Juan, you know, so one person, I think the woman is saying, oh, poor Juan, he was such a good guy, you know, was such an honest guy. The other person said, are you kidding? You know, do you remember what he did when he went to the Chorrera? I guess Chorrera was a restaurant to eat rice and chicken that late at night, arroz con pollo, you know? And then the answer is, well, you know, please, you know, he's now dead, we shouldn't criticize him, you know, maybe God has forgiven him. Now, so that's just, and that's actually, that says a lot if you analyze it about the popular Cuban culture. So that's it.
Yeah, that could go in a lot of different directions.
It could.
Yes.
It could. It could. And the jealous one is kind of like that. You know, the husband finally comes back at home at 4 in the morning, and the things that happen. You know. So, and then from there we go to Malach. Malach was one of the most famous Spanish pianists at the turn of the century, but he also wrote some pieces, and he played a lot of the premieres of the big pieces by Albéniz and Granados, like Iberia and Goyescas, and he wrote some number of like short pieces, and these are 2 of them. One is a Andalusian serenade, and the other one is a Spanish serenade, and these are like the desserts of the program. And the Andalusian, being from the part of Spain, as you know, Spain was under Moorish domination for centuries, and so this one is a little more mysterious, more intense, and then the Spanish one is livelier, though still intense, and it's one of the most actually famous pieces of the Spanish repertoire for the guitar transcription. Yeah.
Well, this is a beautiful program with such a mix of pieces that were transcribed for the guitar and pieces that were written for the instrument. I am really looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you.
Thanks for speaking with me today.
My pleasure.